Stop reacting. You lose control when that happens. See, there's a quote that comes to mind when I say this, and it says, "When within every adult there's a child, and how well that child is trained and treated would dictate the performance of the adult." When I heard this, I thought to myself, I can see a massive difference. Like when my life changed was when I decided to look after this inner child. And I see amongst the people I work with, the people I speak to, how untrained that child truly is. And you'd think that the more of an adult you are, the more this child is clearly going to perform well. The more mature you are, the more money you have, the more well put together you look. You know, you got a house, you got a family, you got a business that's well effective and running, you got employees that you're looking after. Clearly that child must be performing amazingly. And these are the people that are suffering sometimes the most. Why? Because from a young age, especially, a lot of men have been told, you cannot be vulnerable here. And then we have the new gen masculinity coming in saying, no, you can be vulnerable, you're just going to lose everything you've built. So in other words, there's a loop that's created where, how do you actually navigate in this vulnerability space if, number one, growing up, I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable because I was a guy. I was being prepared to become a man. So I didn't get to be a boy, because why should a boy be a boy when he's supposed to be a man? He's supposed to look after his family. That's the generation that we grew up with. So I think when I speak to a lot of people think that the whole concept behind masculinity is, forget boys being boys, to train them to become men. The whole point of you having a dad is so that you can understand what a man does. And then we forget that these people are just children. Now, I'm not saying that the opposite of that, which is the extreme soft gen parenting that's going on, is the answer, which is just do whatever, and I'm just going to be supportive and do whatever. That's not sustainable either. Why? Because you're raising children to stay children. How is someone going to be able to grow up if all they've witnessed throughout their life is constant support? As soon as anything went wrong, someone fixed it. And as soon as they didn't feel well, someone came to pat in the back. There's literally no self-esteem being built here. There's no self-reliance being developed. But the key is in the balance, right? There's benefits in both worlds. The problem is when we polarize or we turn these situations into extreme, we disregard the good that's from one side and completely embody the bad and the good from one side, and then vice versa. So when I speak to entrepreneurs, when I speak to guys, here's one thing I've noticed, and this is what changed for me as well, is that until you parent that child, until you become the parent that you needed, and that's the main thing, well, that child is going to try to survive based on what he's seen is required in order to survive. So the stories you've been telling yourself, financially, I wasn't necessarily one of the most, what's the word? I had to unlearn a lot of the stuff I learned, financially speaking. Why? Because my parents done the best they could, but they weren't necessarily the richest peoples alive, but they're not doing bad either. So they didn't feel the need to change because they were like, well, I'm middle class and somehow I'm getting by, so it must be not that bad. But then you have a scarcity mindset on a concept that's infinite. They print money on a daily basis. Why do I need to slave myself to do something when someone doesn't? It's not a scarce resource. There's scarce resources out there, absolutely, but money isn't one of them. they literally print it, and it was backed by gold and is no longer backed by anything. It's just value. There's enough literally for everyone. That's a different topic. My point is this: there's a lot of things I had to unlearn, right? And when it comes to understanding your inner child, what I had to become is the parent I needed. So there were some good foundations, right? I was a firstborn, so I was taught how to be very self-reliant at a very early stage. I was also told that indirectly, if I am not being useful, I am useless. That carried me till I was 23. And then I went into depression. But because the story I'd been carrying is, if I'm not going to be useful, although I need love here, right? Let's not play about this. We need love sometimes, guys. Guys, we need love. Why do you want to be with a woman if you don't want to be loved? Anyways. So I needed to be loved. But then I thought, I am not in no condition to receive love because I'm not being useful right now. So I'm going to keep myself in my cage and figure out how to maybe be more useful by helping them receive love without me needing it. And that's the battle of an adult that is disconnected from his inner child. I believe most of the issues we're facing today is because a lot of us have terrible relationship with our parents, and instead of trying to amend those relationships by ourselves with our inner child, we've allowed what destroyed us to carry us. It's amazing. You have to build a strong foundation with who the hell you are. The reason why you're reacting is because that inner child comes out every single time it feels threatened. And when there's a weak foundation, well, it's a no-brainer. That child's going to feel threatened most of the times. You're not easily irritable. You have a weak foundation. The reason why you feel easily irritated is because it doesn't take a lot for people to get to your foundation. If I shift this, it's light, correct? That's you being easily irritated. People are constantly shifting you. Why? The foundation is not stable. Let's pick something else up. Right? The heavier it is to carry, the harder it's going to be shifted. But that comes from things being rooted. So you have to build a strong foundation within, and that comes by becoming the parent you never had. Come on, I'm speaking now. You see, I wasn't calm. I wasn't always like this. There was a point in my life where I was short-tempered, and society told me that represented strength. That I'm someone not to mess with when I'm this angry. Angry people are the most fragile people out there. Why? Because it doesn't take a lot to piss them off. What'd you do that for? And that's strength. How? The easier it is for me to shift you, the weaker you are. And we are currently in a generation where it's excused because everyone else is doing it, right? If I'm easily irritable and you're easily irritable, and then there's four of us or five of us, then we have a society that's easily irritable. Well, we have a fragile society. That's what it is. And what I'm basically getting at here is that the reason why you reacting is not being excused is because everyone else is doing it. I've got a story. So I was going to an exhibition, and there's this guy that's wearing a high vis, and he's collecting money for the tickets. And I'm not going to say what event it was, but there was a queue. There was a queue, and this was a parking lot, and the parking lot also had an online way to pay. So I'm in the queue, and I'm like, I have to get inside. I don't have time. There was a lot of traffic. I have to get in. I'm probably one of the next speakers. Then I asked myself, hold on a minute. If there's an online sign, why are people queuing up? So I asked the guy, by the way, can I pay online for this? He said, no, everyone's queued up, so just wait. Just queue up. It's 25 quid. Yeah, just wait. It'll be fine. You didn't answer my question. Can I pay online? Well, I don't think so. I don't think it's working. You just have to queue up, like everybody else. That's like, right, okay. I'm going to pay online. Thank you. Checked online. By the way, queuing up, everyone was paying £25. Yeah? Paid online, £8.99. Everybody else queued up. No questions asked. Because everybody else is doing it. And there's so many more studies, but that's what I witnessed personally. There's another study that is quite mentioned often where they were electrocuting people, and people were literally utilizing death levels to electrocute people, and they were just doing it because that's what they were being told, right? And that is the power of everybody doing what everybody else is doing. So we've normalized abandoning our inner child because everybody else is doing it. But if everybody else is miserable, does that mean that you get to be miserable too? Is that what you want? I'd argue and say no, right? You'd want to think for yourself and figure out a way to do things in your own way, or figure out maybe a better way to do things. And that was my story. I questioned things. If it's not working, why are we still doing it? But in today's generation, it's such a weird question to ask. Why would you ask that? Everyone's doing it. Culture is another topic. As you can see, I'm Nigerian, Igbo guy. Grew up in Italy, born there. But the funny thing about me growing my dreads is I made a statement. And the statement was, I'm not allowing myself to be bullied by ghosts that were just doing what they were being told. And that's culture. Don't get me wrong, there are some aspects to culture that needs to be upkept and honored, and I appreciate. Question things. I know you've been told, just do as you're told. Question things. When you feel this miserable and you don't have an answer to it, figure it out. And I hope this is why you're probably watching a video like this. So, what I understood in that process is, number one, so then we discuss what's actually happening. We're going to discuss how to actually do this. So I'm going to give value. I want to make sure you walk away with something tangible today, all right, in regards to this. So how do you stop reacting, right? Well, number one is you learn how to parent yourself, like we just said. And not just parent yourself, you allow yourself to observe while also being the person that's expressing what they're observing. So instead of saying, I'm angry, right? We all know how to internalize pain. We all know how to allow our emotions to consume us. We also all know, if you're nonchalant or if you claim to be a guy that doesn't feel anything, how to completely ignore it and disregard it. You see, a lot of us think that's being cold, that's being tough, that's being masculine. You're abandoning a child. There's nothing masculine about that. You're abandoning not just a child, yourself. There's nothing to be proud of. That is stupid. You neglecting yourself is stupid, because you're going to still, in order for you to work and build yourself effectively, you're still going to need you. So how the hell are you going to abandon yourself and then expect yourself to show up like nothing happened? You didn't know any better, but now you do. Stop abandoning yourself. Stop it. So number one is parent yourself. And when I mean parent yourself, I mean become the parent you never had. Okay? Show up for you. It's okay to be wrong. But there needs to be guidance in regards to how to do things properly. Right? What's vulnerability? Vulnerability is the ability to look at the scar, whatever it is. You allow yourself to feel weak without letting it consume you. And that's my definition of vulnerability. Number two, as you're parenting yourself, You don't just show love, you show discipline. You stick to your word. Say, no, we don't allow anger to consume us. Because I believe that an effective parent has a balance of both. If you're just purely disciplined, your children are going to grow to hate you. And they're probably going to hate discipline too. Right? If you're a loving parent, then you're going to be a parent for the rest of your life. Why? Because your children are just going to have no sense of direction, sense of self-esteem, ego, desire to wanting to do things for themselves. You took that away from them the moment you showed them love without showing them how to nurture that love for themselves. So there needs to be a balance, right? Preparing yourself is number one. Then number two is understand how to observe without being consumed by what you're observing. And what I mean by that is you become, there's free. So when I speak to my clients and people I work with, I talk about the fact that you need to be the director, okay, the actor, and the audience. The audience bit is for the approval. The only person's approval you need is yours. You go! You got this! You go! Come on! Why do you think I've been recording 600 plus videos without it being monetized? I'm not doing this because I need people to see me. No! I don't give a toss. If it helps one person, great. But I've already uploaded for myself. Right? My job is to make sure that whenever I show up in this camera, I'm giving you guys the best I can. And if it's not the best, then improve next time. That's it. I don't need nothing else. I've lost followers, made followers, this, that happened. Listen, let me tell you something. Whatever people take away from you, whatever people can give you, and you're going to hold on to and depend on, is the very thing that can destroy you once it's taken away. The reason why, unlike most of these people, I'm not here, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with celebrating followers, and I think sometimes I've done in the past, but the reason why you don't want to necessarily celebrate things too much or be too dependent on things working out in a specific way is because once they disappear, so does your peace. Or does your stability. In the previous video, I discussed how whatever you latch your stability onto, once it disappears, so will your stability. So some people attach it to finances, some people attach it to their success, some people attach it to their physique. Most people attach it to some sort of success that they've achieved that makes them feel better than other people, right? The problem with that is that once that goes, so does your stability. So your stability should never be based on you feeling like you're better than others. You can have an ego. You can say, I'm good at this, or I'm really, really good at this. What I'm saying is that your stability should be dependent on something that no one can take away from you because you gave it to yourself. And then at number 3, we have understanding how to pause or utilize time to your benefit. And what I mean by that is, one thing I've noticed about influential leaders and the people who operate at high levels and understand how to influence and all these other things is they know how to not allow people to dictate how they show up. So even when someone is genuinely disrespecting them, the last thing they will try to do is react to that situation or get triggered by the situation. I have never heard any influential person say, "Why did you trigger me?" Like, it just never happened. I've never said that to my wife. Right? Does she piss me off sometimes? Maybe. I just observe it and just let it go. Or I observe it and then I challenge it and say, "Babe, this needs to be worked on." Right? The point is this though. When it happens, I observe it. And then I respond at my own time. Because I am not going to be rushed into making a decision. I am not going to be forced into making a decision. I am not going to be persuaded into making a decision I don't want to make. Not because I'm stubborn, but because if I'm going to respond, that means I'm 100% responsible for the outcome of that response. And if that isn't something that I can bear, or something that I don't want to hold anyone else accountable to, then I should be 100% giving myself the time to make that decision for myself. Hey. And you're not going to rush me to this decision, because I want to make sure that whatever decision I make, I'm 100% responsible for. Do you want me to blame you because you're trying to force a decision out of me? Or do you want me to take my time in understanding why this decision is the best decision for me? Understand how to not be forced into certain situations. So even when you feel like you're being threatened, the best way for you to know what to do in those cases scenario is, before the threat, make a clear boundary list. Okay, when it comes to this now, I'm not going to hesitate, right? Like, for instance, example, I will probably fight for most things. Someone threatens me, which I think is very stupid. I might put a video of my boxing skills, you know what I'm saying? I'm joking. But yeah, if someone threatens me, there are going to be very few instances where I might just say, yeah, take it, it's fine. Most case and scenario is, I'm going to, even if I tell you yeah, there and then, it's strategic. I'm coming to rip your life apart. Do you understand that? Like, it's all based, however, on a response and boundaries that I am happy to live with. The problem always happens when you didn't set those boundaries, and then the thing happens, and then you're left between a rock and a hard place, and you don't know what decision to make. So if you implement these 3 things, you're going to see a massive shift. But before you make this shift, here's what needs to happen. We discussed parenting yourself, but what we haven't discussed is recalibrating yourself. And that basically means going into the room where all of this started and tidying everything up. Creating an emotional map around how to process these things. Challenging your inner child, the person that made the mess. Unintentionally, they were just trying to survive. And then, from recalibration, understanding how to be in charge of the whole room by understanding how to rebuild a system that allows you to be the person in charge of your own kingdom. Everyone's got their own kingdom. Every single one of you watching this video is a king of his own kingdom. Right? If you, however, are running this kingdom sporadically, or there's no real system or structure behind it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be easily attacked. You're going to be easily triggered, right? So we rebuild, because we don't want you to be vulnerable. We want you to be structured. We want you to be authentic, and we want you to be able to access power in the right way, right? And then we reframe. That's when we look at, how can we make this a consistent thing that will never require my services or expertise ever again? I don't make these videos because I want you guys to watch them every single week I post them. No, I want you to, once you've watched them, go do the work, change your life, and then if you want to say thank you, say thank you, but it's not me, it's you doing the work, right? And then if you want to work with me, that's great too, but I don't work with everyone. So let's see what can happen, right? My point is this: once you recalibrate, you're able to you've installed this system that allows you to run smoothly, like no one has ever seen before. You become this completely brand new person who can navigate things effectively. All right. So if this video has added value to you, all I ask is for you to share in the comments what you've gained. If you're interested in a one-to-one session, drop me a message. But if not that, listen, that book is available on Amazon, and pretty much done for today. I really hope that you've seen how to stop reacting. Okay? And just to summarize it, parent your inner child, observe before you react, and use time to respond. Okay? Really hope this video has added value to you. And if it hasn't, I don't know what to tell you. But you should definitely watch the next ones, because they definitely will. I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you in the next one.